The Powers Project.
So, friends, before we get started with today's show, I wanted to let you know that this episode is about a cause which is very near and dear to my heart, saving the rhino. As you watch or listen to this episode, I hope you'll choose to help out and donate to the Rhino Orphanage so they can continue with their life saving work. I have a link to their website where you can donate to them directly at thepowersproject.com. Also, I want to let you know that I'm in the process of setting up a Patreon account after being on air for a year now in order to offer you more content and closer access to the show and myself. I will also have merchandise that'll be available very soon, so keep an eye out for that. And I tell you that to tell you this: I have committed to donating 20% of all proceeds from both my Patreon memberships and sales of merchandise for the entire year of 2021 to the Rhino Orphanage. So please join me in supporting this noble cause to ensure that rhinos never become extinct. Okay, let's get started with the show. My guests today are actual heroes. Their tireless devotion to saving the rhinos is nothing less than extraordinary, and I really cannot say enough good things about them or the amazing work they do. Together, along with their magnificent crew, they run the Rhino Orphanage in South Africa, which is the oldest rhino orphanage in existence. And because of my phenomenal guests, these baby rhinos that they rescue will have the chance to become adult rhinos one day and be released back into the wild. So please welcome the wonderful and awesome Arrie, Yolande, and Leandi. Live here with Yolande. How you doing today?
Hi, Kurt. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you're in South Africa, correct?
Yes, all the way in the Limpopo province of South Africa.
So is it hot there? Like I assume it's always hot there?
Yes, it's pretty hot in summer. Winter's temperature is very mild, but it's actually a very nice day today. We've got a bit of cloud forming and a bit of a storm brewing, so we're quite anxious for rain. Actually, it's been very dry the last 5 years in South Africa.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've done a little reading that you guys have an issue with your water there, like we do here. Not quite. I mean, we don't have it as bad here in Florida as you do in South Africa, from my understanding.
Yeah, no, it's been tough. It's been tough. You know, it's the vegetation as well. It's not just our dams and reservoirs that aren't filling up. It's the vegetation, especially in our scenario here with the rhinos. The vegetation, the basal cover of it is really down to about 40% maybe.
Oh,
So we're struggling with grazing and food supplements. Yeah.
Now are you the head of the Rhino Orphanage? Do you run pretty much everything? I know Arie's like the big guy, but you're the one that takes care of everything. Is that correct?
Yes, I manage all the day-to-day operations. I'm the manager here and also the head carer at the orphanage.
Well, I see a couple of my favorite animals right behind you there. Who are we looking at back there?
Well, we're looking at Kolisi and Phil. Kolisi's the one that's got his bum closest to us, and then his friend Phil over there.
And so, Kolisi, you told me that you're getting ready to milk Kolisi, to give Kolisi milk. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. 3:00 here is milk time for all the babies, so his milk's on standby.
And he looks like he's hungry. So tell me, how did you come about getting Kolisi?
So almost a year ago, 3 days from now, on the 7th of December, we got a call from our vet, Dr. Pierre, and he informed us that there was a rhino calf that was severely injured by hyenas. So a more natural cause where 90% of our calves are orphans due to poaching. This one was considered one of the lucky ones. So he got attacked by a hyena and had a very nasty wound on his right back leg. In fact, he lost about 40% of the tissue in his foot, and also one of his 3 toes was missing. All the bones were severed, the tendons and ligaments were damaged, so he was in a bad way. And part of his ear was actually also bitten off in this attack. But lucky for him, Mom was there to save him. So his mom wasn't dead, she was actually there. But due to the nature of his injuries, there was no way for him to actually stay with her and get treated in the bush. The wound was getting infected. In fact, when he got to us, he'd already walked like this for 7 days approximately, and he was a calf of only 3 months old. So yeah, we had to separate him from his mum to be able to effectively treat him and save his life.
So now that he's been there at the orphanage and he's healed now, will there be a time that he's going to be able to be released back into the wild, even though he has this previous injury?
Yes, yes. We are still not 100% out of the woods. The tendons and the lamina that keeps the large bones in his foot in place have been severely damaged during this attack. So that is still in the process of healing. But where Kolisi 2 months ago had to get pain medication every single day, he's been pain medication free for over a month now. We haven't had to give him pain medication. So it's looking really, really promising. And yes, the vets are positive that he would be able to return back to his home reserve.
Well, that's great news. I'm happy to hear that. I know this probably isn't the right thing to say, but I do not like hyenas, and I especially don't like them now.
They're actually very interesting animals, but that's a whole different podcast for another day.
All right, so you have this big bottle there. Now,
Yeah.
so he's going to drink all that milk, and will that fill him up, or does he, or oh, okay, there you go.
He actually gets, yeah, he gets 3.5 liters. I've actually dropped his milk down 500 mils today because he's already 15 to 16 months old. He's already entered the weaning phase here at the orphanage, and he will get milk up until the age of about 18, 19 months old. So this is just one feed, and at the moment he gets 3 of these feeds per day. But it's already been reduced. When he was 11 months old, he got 20 liters a day in
Oh,
5
wow.
feeds. So this is actually quite little.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready.
He is. You want your milk, big boy? Yes, you do. There we go. There we go.
That has got to be, uh, to me, that's got to be one of the coolest jobs in the world. What you're doing, I think that would be amazing to do your job. Seriously.
It is a pretty amazing job, and we're very lucky in that regard. Jobs like these are few and far between. So we're very grateful that we can be a part of this. It is absolutely amazing. It is the most amazing job in the world, I think.
Yeah, I had the privilege to actually touch a rhino, to pet a rhino when I was at, my best friend took me to Animal Kingdom here in Orlando, which is part of Disney's
Yeah.
parks, and they have an experience where you can go in the back and you can see these full grown rhinos, and you can actually pet them and touch them. And I was like, I would love to feed a rhino, and I just think it's just the coolest thing to be able to hang out and just and hang out around them and be around them and feed them and stuff. So I envy you. I don't envy people, but I envy you.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, we wish there wasn't a need for an orphanage at all. But unfortunately, this need has arose, and yeah, we take it by the horns, as they say, literally.
So how many rhinos are you presently caring for?
So the total number of rhinos I can't give for security reasons, but I can
Gotcha.
tell you that we've got 4 milk-dependent babies at the moment, and drinking 20 liters a day, as Arrie would say, it becomes quite an expensive hobby, this whole milk feeding thing.
I can imagine.
It's all gone, sorry. There we go. That's 3.5 liters gone.
He's like, I want more.
No more. Yeah, it's all gone, my boy. Sorry. Sorry, big boy.
He's just so beautiful.
He's a stunning animal. He wasn't as friendly in the beginning when he came. We actually had to wear cricket pads on our legs to prevent him from bruising us and busting our kneecaps. So he was a bit of a cheeky guy when he just arrived, but he's a sweetheart now. He's absolutely adorable. And, he's come such a long way with this foot. The vets are saying that he's actually a miracle, the way this foot healed.
It's funny because you said that he came to you on December 7th, and
Yeah.
that was when I started my podcast, was exactly December 7th, 1 year ago. So
Really?
yes,
Wow.
so I there's a little connection there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Kolisi. And he's happy to have a friend, of course. And it's always important for us that these rhinos, these orphans that come in, would rather pair up with other rhinos because it just makes that human dependence less. And that's the sole aim for all the babies that come through the orphanage, is to go back to the wild. So we can't have them too dependent on humans. So
Right.
whenever we can join them up, we'll do so.
So
Phil, he came in April and his mom died from an unknown cause. We don't know what the reason was, if it was an old gunshot wound from a poacher, because when they found the carcass, she already had her horns or the horns were still intact. So unfortunately, the body was very decomposed and they couldn't estimate or say what a cause of death was. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? It could have been a previous shooting by a poacher and then she died from complications afterwards. Nobody really knows.
So rhinos are social animals, but they're not social, like they don't hang out in big groups though, right?
When they are sub-adult, like here at the orphanage, they're actually very, very social. And white rhinos and black rhinos would actually mix as well. I've personally seen rhinos gathering in, let's say, 6 or 7 animals in what we call a crash. So they're very social, much more social than people actually believe. You know, there's this stigma that rhinos are strictly solitary, which is more true for the black rhino than what these are, the white rhinos. But yeah, here at the orphanage, all the younger animals are very, very social. They're still establishing hierarchies and learning from each other and establishing dominance. And, you know, you get different personalities, but yeah, they're actually quite social.
And they're quite intelligent, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We believe that they are. You know, people think they're just these gray, big things that walk around and eat grass all day, but there's much more to them. I promise you that. Much more to them. Their personalities or their temperaments are actually so different. We can say it's like night and day from one rhino to the next.
Really? They
Yeah.
have that big of a personality.
Yes. You get the shy ones, you get the cheeky ones like Kolisi, you get the more timid ones and the ones that like to relax all day and ones that like to run all day. And yeah, very different from each other.
Very much like humans, I guess.
Very much like us, yes. You can see actually
Phil's got a problem.
people believe that white rhinos eat strictly grass and black rhinos eat strictly leaves, but you can clearly see a white rhino eating leaves over there and loving it.
Um, so when they're growing up and they're playing together and stuff and they're socializing together and they're learning how to interact with one another, this is all part of the process that you have so that they can be released back in the wild. How long do you have them before you feel comfortable releasing them back into the wild?
Well, Kurt, the babies are, well, we call them babies, although they're already sub-adult animals, some of them. But they normally return, if the landowner wants them back or the rhino owner wants them back, they'll return between the age of 4 to 5 years old. That just gives them a chance to develop a little bit physically as well, so that they are strong enough to cope with whatever's out there, including attacks from lions, because they do often go for young rhino, and also to take the onslaught of a territorial bull better, for example. So usually between the age of 4 to 5 years.
Now you said if the landowner wants to have the rhino, so is there not a preserve or for these rhinos to roam to safely be able to be released, or you have to have approval from landowners around?
So what I mean by that is the place where the rhino actually comes from. So that portion of the country, whether it be a privately owned game reserve or a national park, for example, it all depends on them. So we've got a couple here that they don't want back, so they remain with the orphanage. And hopefully one day they will breed and we can release the offspring in suitable areas. But then, like the national parks, they normally want them back. But we won't ever release a rhino if we don't feel that the safety or the security and the anti-poaching of the area is up to scratch. And luckily, all the places where these rhinos come from, they share that same sentiment. So we won't move animals if it's not safe. If poaching is high or in that specific reserve or national park, poaching is out of control, they'll stay right here where we can keep them safe with our own security and our own anti-poaching team. So it depends on where the rhino comes from. And also, of course, what happened to it. Like, we've got a special animal here called Tula, and Tula lost her eyesight during this whole poaching of her mother. The bullet that killed her mother actually hit Tula in the shoulders, and then due to factors, stress factors, and all sorts of different things coming into play, she lost both her eyes. So Tula is unreleasable because she's blind. She's fully blind, but she will stay with the orphanage, and hopefully she'll have her own calves one day. Luckily for her, rhinos aren't too dependent on their eyesight. They rely on smell and especially their hearing to tell what's going on around them. So it's not as detrimental to her as it seems.
I was going to say, to get back to what you said, that a group of rhinos is called a crash. I was like, there's never been a more appropriate name for a group of animals than I think for rhinos.
Absolutely.
You said something earlier about you didn't want to release the number of rhinos that you have for security reasons. And
yeah.
One of the things I want people to be aware of is that when I spoke with Arrie, and I'll speak with him here in a little bit, he was saying that one of the biggest expenses you have is for security, because I remember reading about another rhino orphanage that was attacked by poachers, where they actually held the people captive and killed the rhinos that were there at the orphanage. And so, security is paramount, I suppose, for you guys.
Absolutely, yes. That is most important. You can fundraise for milk, and you can fundraise for dry food supplements and that sort of thing. But if there's no rhinos, then milk and dry food's not going to help. So security is vital. It is vital. And, during the lockdown in South Africa with the whole coronavirus thing, the poaching seemed to subside and dwindle a little bit. But we have now had, not here, but all across the country, there's been a number of poaching incidents already and incursions already. So we have to upkeep the security and the anti-poaching 110% of the time.
Is there, one of the things I talked about, Arrie, because what I like to do with my show is that I like to identify problems that we have, and then find solutions, if there are any solutions out there that we can implement to help prevent this problem from reoccurring, or at least not as occurring as often as it does. What are some of the solutions that you guys have discovered, or are there any solutions to help with alleviating some of this poaching that's been going on?
I don't think there's one single big solution. It's going to have to be a global effort from lots of different people and lots of different bodies, creating awareness and supporting the right causes, and making sure that you are actually supporting the right causes and legit basis, because that's another thing that comes in, is that people are now exploiting this whole poaching thing, and they create fake organizations and they fundraise for rhinos that aren't there. So people have to be aware of that as well. But we have to start spreading the word. We have to start sharing the posts of all these organizations that are trying to educate people. There's no quick fix to this. This is literally a culture that's been in place, the use of rhino horn for years and years and thousands of years. So there's not an overnight solution, unfortunately. But we have to protect the remaining rhino population. So anti-poaching, once again, security, making sure that these animals are safe and supporting the right causes is really important.
Is Arrie next to you, or is he around there?
Right over there.
Arrie, you're the man. You're the guy who started this whole rhino orphanage. Is that correct?
That's right.
So I can't thank you enough. I know there are people out across the world who appreciate the sacrifices that you and Yolande and Leandi are making, and providing a safe haven for these baby rhinos. This is something that's specialized, because you only handle the baby rhinos. You don't deal with full-grown rhinos, right?
Yes, obviously the little babies do grow up, and we release a lot of them on a reserve that is not far away from us. and there they grow, and we have someone monitoring them on a daily basis, because that is the main thing that Yolande said. You have to see the animals every day. You have to know where they are, because security is vital. It's absolutely vital. But we do work with sub-adult rhinos, and obviously with the orphans that we released on the reserve, they mingle with the resident rhinos, which are mostly fully grown adult rhinos.
What would you say besides? I know that security is number one. What's your three top costs to run that orphanage?
Depending on how many orphans there are, how many milk drinking orphans there are, depending on health issues, if they have to get to veterinary hospitals and that type of thing. But everything between 150 and 200,000 a month, sometimes more, sometimes go up to 300,000 a month.
That's how much it takes a month to take care
Yes.
of the rhinos that you have? Wow.
Yeah.
And so how do you fund this? Do you have supporters out there who help and who contribute and donate enough to you to be able to take care of that? Or is this something
Yes,
you have to self-fund?
we try, we do our best. There's good people all over the world. We get a little bit of corporate funding, but a lot of individual funding. We do certain drives like we did now a few days ago of Giving Tuesday. So we have to have all these plans to make money to survive.
So,
and if I can please ask you, there's 3 more rhinos that needs milk desperately, and that milk's going to go cold, so we're going to move that way. Is that all right, Kurt?
That's great. Whatever you guys need to do, let's do it.
Right, follow Yolande. Here we go.
All right. Yeah, because I know I don't want to hold those rhinos up from eating because they're hungry.
No, we won't let you.
So, Arrie, do you have any type of experience that for people who want, like, are they able to visit the orphanage, and do you have any type of experience for them, or because of security reasons, do you not allow that?
I'm sorry, for security reasons, and obviously we don't want people to see too many of the rhinos, to see too many people. We do not allow the public here, but special people can come.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, especially if they've got big fat checkbooks full of dollars, then they're more than welcome. Okay, here's the new other babies coming. I'm going to leave it to Yolande.
Yeah, they know.
Can you see them coming?
They know it's dinner time.
It's small time. You can explain, Yolande, who they are.
So, sorry, it's quite noisy with the gate, Kurt. I don't know if you can hear me all right.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so the baby in front of me, that's the youngest one at the orphanage at the moment. He arrived here at only 7 days old. Importantly, all 3 of these babies lost their mothers to poaching right at the start of the South African lockdown, so back in March and April. And he was only 1 week old, and he was terribly tiny and terribly hungry and terribly scared. These 2, this is Jessie, and next to her, Amelia. Both of these girls were really anxious when they arrived. They almost showed kind of a PTSD after the whole poaching incident. We believe that Jessie, she had a small cut on her shoulder, which looked like it was from a machete. It was a clean, straight line. And she had to go on Valium for just over 2 days to actually just calm her down and keep her from having panic attacks. So that's the kind of effect that these incidents have on these babies. You know, they witness their mothers being killed by poachers, and often themselves get injured in the process, because that drive to protect their mom is so strong that they attack the people who are hacking the rhinos' faces. So, and they often get hit like JC was. But they're doing great. These 2 girls, they just let them settle. These 2 girls are 1 year old this month. Mapimpi about 9 months old and going strong, growing fast and going strong, drinking lots of milk. A little baby like Mapimpi, for the 18 months that he drinks milk with us, He'll drink almost 6,000 liters of milk, and we'll feed him about 1,700 times during this process.
Wow. That is a lot of milk.
It's a lot of milk, and it's a lot of getting up at 3 a.m. to do so. But Pimpy, you are making the biggest mess ever, my friend. Sorry. Let me just put the feet back on. Sorry, my baby boy, but you pull. Huh? There we go.
So, whether poaching is a problem, what is it? Why do people? Why do they kill these rhinos for their horns? What is it that they think these horns do for them?
Just a little bit back. Sorry, I can't hear. Can you just repeat your question, Kurt? Sorry, the baby's just screaming in the background.
Yeah, no problem. So we know that the rhinos are poached for their horns, but what is it about the horn that people think it's so valuable that they're willing to kill an entire beautiful animal just for the horn?
So traditionally it was used in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, but nowadays it's used as a party drug. There's claims that it cures cancer. It's used as an aphrodisiac. It's used in ceremonial dagger handles. So there's different kinds of uses. There is no scientific proof that rhino horn cures anything. It is keratin. It's the same as our nails and our hair. It's just compressed into the solid horn. So you might as well be eating your hair or chewing on your nails, and that will have the same medicinal benefit, which is non-existent, as a rhino horn. So there is no proof that it actually cures anything.
Is there any attempt to educate those from those countries, like China or Thailand or Vietnam, or where these horns end up, the majority of it end up going to? Is there any sort of education system set up to tell these people exactly what you said?
Yeah, there's lots of organizations now. I know that Vietnam is the biggest problem at the moment, actually. They supply the Chinese market. So Vietnam, Laos, China, those areas. And there's actually the Vietnamese government has awareness and education programs. All the activists are trying to get the word out. But as I said earlier, this is a culture that's been around for so many thousands of years, and you can't change that overnight. You can't.
Right.
And unfortunately for us, there's just too much money involved. We're fighting one of the most difficult things to fight, and that's greed.
Yeah.
That's money.
Arrie was saying that rhino horn is more expensive than gold. Arrie, with that and what Yolande just said about greed, is that a problem that you have within your own government? Is people looking the other way because they're getting kickbacks or whatever from these different people?
What you must realize is that it's like fighting a drug cartel. We are fighting organized crime. It's not petty crime. It's not individuals poaching rhinos, shooting rhinos, trading in rhino horn. It's organized crime that does it. It's the Chinese triad. It is the Cosa Nostra. It's organized crime. We're fighting organized crime. There's just too much money involved. Rhino horn is more expensive than gold. Rhino horn is more expensive than heroin. It is one of the most expensive commodities on the planet. And because there's so much money involved, everybody becomes crooked and becomes corrupt. And you asked about government. Now, South African government, not all of them are crooks, but all the crooks are in government, I think. But
that's it, yeah.
The problem is that there are people in government and in positions that should look after these animals that become corrupt, and they got a finger in the pie. And that's why it's so difficult in South Africa to pursue these people, to rip open the cartels that organize the rhino poaching. It's very, very difficult. You can speak to the people from the Green Hawks, which is a special unit that investigates rhino poaching, and they will all say that in the beginning, it's quite easy. They follow all the leads, and then all of a sudden they hit a brick wall and they can't go any further because it's stopped from the top. And the reason for it's man's greed. There's too much money involved. That's the only reason.
You were saying when we talked a couple of weeks ago, you said something about even like diplomats for these different countries have been caught with these
Yes.
horns, and because of their diplomatic immunity, nothing happens to them.
Exactly. A lot of the rhino horn, we all know, it goes out through the Vietnamese embassy, goes out in the diplomatic bags. They've got a diplomatic immunity. You can't touch them. And that's the problem. It's such a big thing. That's why it makes it so difficult. I always say it's like fighting the drug trade. It's exactly the same.
How many rhinos are left in the wild? Do you know?
Well, the number of white rhino is said to be around 18,000. I think that was a complete overestimate. Just judging from what they said 10 years ago, they said we were at 20,000, and we've lost thousands of rhinos in the last 10 years, 9,000 rhinos. And that's just numbers we know of. Very often, not all the carcasses are reported, like Phil's mom, for example. No signs of poaching doesn't mean that it wasn't due to that, but it was too far decomposed to actually say for sure it was. So then not included in the official numbers are all the calves that die, unborn calves sometimes, the females that get poached. These babies are not part of the statistic. If we didn't save them or they weren't found in time, those babies would not be part of the poaching statistic, but indirectly it's due to poaching. So I don't believe that there's 18,000 white rhinos left. Not for 1 second, I believe it.
Less than 10,000. A couple of years ago, they had a big hoo-ha in Parliament about how many rhinos was left in South Africa. Dr. Ian Player was still alive. He attended. He was the man that, not on his own, but one of the guys that actually saved the white rhino in South Africa and in the world. And Sandparks, the people from Sandparks, South African National Parks, got up and said they think they've got about between 12 and 13 white rhino, 1,000 white rhinos left. And Dr. Ian Player got up and said, you'll be lucky if you have 3,000 left. They have no idea. The problem is with the big parks like Kruger, they have no idea how many they shoot. For every one that is reported, there's 2 or 3 that they don't know of. So you can go, in the old days, you used to go to Kruger National Park, you used to drive around every second corner, you saw rhinos. Now you go there some people go there for a week and they don't see a single rhino.
I can vouch for that. I can truly vouch for that.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because when we talked a couple of weeks ago, you talked about in Botswana, there was a time for 12 years where not one rhino was poached. What is it that happened that was done differently there that isn't being done now?
It was because Botswana was run by the Khama brothers. Ian Khama was the president and his younger brother TK Khama was the minister of the environment. They didn't lose a single rhino for 12 years. Why? Because they protected them. They had the full support of the Botswana government, from the president down. If you had on a private land, you had rhinos, even if you had 1 or 2 rhinos, the Botswana National Defense Force protected it free of charge for you. They had the Khama Reserve. They had strongholds in Botswana protected by the National Defense Force. And if they caught you, that is, nobody will ever say that in public, but if you were caught poaching anything in Botswana, you were executed. They took no prisoners. Literally, they took no prisoners. And now Ian Khama stepped down after his 2 terms as president, and TK stepped down as Minister of Environmental Affairs. And now the poaching has started in Botswana. It's all about commitment from government. And with the Khama brothers, they had 120% commitment from government. That's why they didn't lose anything.
One of the things that occurred to me when we talked a couple of weeks ago, because again, my whole thing is about finding solutions. And I think Yolande hit on it earlier when she said, this is a global matter. This is something where we need to get the entire world behind, because I know when we made this move to save the whales, for instance, it had to come from countries that didn't depend on whaling as a way to make money. And I think for in our country, obviously we're not making money off of rhino horns. And so to get America behind this cause, to go, look, this is something that we need to get behind and support, and say, and say this needs to be done. Otherwise, these magnificent animals are going to become extinct, like so many other animals that have have gone the way of extinction because of greed, or because of overbuilding in places, and taking up land, and killing off species, and to have such a magnificent animal just disappear simply because of some false belief that their horn cures cancer or some nonsense like that. In fact, Ari, you said that there was a rise in the poaching after some official had said that his prostate cancer or something was cured. Was that right?
That's right. That's what escalated the poaching, was that a cabinet minister in Vietnam got up and said he was cured of his prostate cancer by using rhino horn. It suddenly became the new miracle cure for cancer in the Far East, and that's absolute rubbish. It's your nails, your hair, it's keratin, it's nothing else. But you are absolutely correct when you said, you must remember, South Africa and most countries that has rhino in are third world countries. Third world countries are, not all of them are corrupt. You had countries like Botswana that ran beautifully. But I always say one person, one organization, not even one country can solve this problem. And the third world needs the support of the superpowers of this world, like America, like the United States of America. You've now got a new president, so you're going to run with it now. Not a president that wants to kill them, but someone that wants to save them. And that is so important, that we have the support of countries, the superpowers of the world, like the United States of America. We can't rely on the support of China, unfortunately, because they consume rhino horn. And that's so correct. What you said is, we as a third world country, without your guys, without your support, we won't make it. We're going to become a country where we're going to invite the world to come and have a look at the big four, not the big five. Because if it carries on like this, we are going to lose the species. We're going to lose the white and the black rhino.
One of the things I want to do right now is, to my listeners and the viewers of this show, I want to invite you to not only to donate to the Rhino Orphanage, and I have to tell you up front, they are in South Africa, so this is not something that you're going to be able to to write off on your taxes. It's just you're going to donate because it's the right thing to do. And
yes.
More importantly, I think it's important that we reach out to our elected officials and we let them know that we as a country, as our government, needs to step in and voice their opinion and let it be known that this isn't okay with us. We need to step in and say, this is something that needs to change, and and as a government, our government needs to get behind it. So it's not just enough to donate to your cause. We need to call our elected officials and let them know that our government needs to get behind you as well.
Absolutely. That's why it's people like you, it's the people that support you and that support your cause, and people that's got the right heart that can put pressure on your government, that then can put pressure on our government. That's the way we're going to win this war, because that's what it is. It's a war.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I mean, thank you for all the wonderful work that you guys do. I can't tell you how much I admire you for what you do, and I know that there are people around the world who just appreciate everything you're doing because it's an important cause, and I can tell it's quite an undertaking, and it's not something everybody would be willing to do. They'd be like, yeah, I want to do something, but that's a little bit too much. And you guys are, I mean, like Yolande said, getting up at 3 a.m, that would be enough to stop most people. So
Yeah.
That's after you got up at midnight as well. And then again at 5:30.
oh my gosh. Yeah. See, I think, of course, it would cost a lot of money, but I think I would have one of those feeding troughs or milking things that were just constantly full and go, you know what, go eat when you want, guys. I'll be up in a little bit.
Then your vet bills are going to be through the roof, unfortunately.
What you will see is that at the Rhino Orphanage, only girls that work here. Man can't do the job. You need the motherly instinct to kick in. And when new rhino comes in, I've seen them that they carry on for 72 hours plus without a wink of sleep. Why? Because they have passion. They have passion. They care for their babies. They care for the rhinos. And that's why they are the real angels of this fight against rhino poaching. And, when we did this last drive, the Giving Tuesday drive that we had, most of our donors came out of the United States of America. So,
and for that we say thank you so much.
And that's why we are really, really appreciative of these people. And the more people from the States that can support us, the further we can go and the more babies we can save.
There's two things I want to say. One is that in this world, the word hero gets overused, especially in our country. It gets overused, but you guys are real heroes of this world, seriously. And I know, yeah, but you too, all you guys that are there doing the work that you do, you're truly heroes. And I just, again, as I said before, I just have the utmost admiration for you guys and for what you do, and cannot thank you enough, and appreciate everything you do. And I know that I speak for millions of people that they feel that they would feel the same way. Number two is that, like I told you, Yolande, my podcast started 1 year ago, December 7th, and so
okay.
What I'm
happy
about
birthday.
Well, thank you. So Kolisi and I have something in common there. Good. So here's the thing. I'm getting ready to start a Patreon account, and I'm going to let my viewers and my listeners know that I'm going to be donating 10% of everything, from whatever I get from Patreon, from whatever merchandise I sell. I have some shirts I'll show you guys, and that when I sell them, I'll give 10% of the proceeds will go there. But on top of that, I'm going to give an additional 10% myself out of that, so that we can give you 20%. And I'm going to do this for the entire year of 2021. And I don't want to commit, but I'll probably go even beyond that, because I just love what you guys do so much. And like I said, I just, we can't help you enough. That's how I look at it, is that I don't think we can do enough for you, for all that you've done.
Thank you, Kurt. You just spoke about heroes. There's a new hero on the planet. Go and look in the mirror. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time, and what a great experience. Seriously, I've had some amazing guests on my show. I mean, like world-renowned speakers, best-selling authors and actors and world-famous athletes. But I'm going to tell you, as much as I love those podcasts, this has become my favorite. This is my favorite episode, because I love you guys. So thank you so much for taking the time out and showing us, a little bit of your life, and showing us, the rhinos, and that's a thrill for me. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you so much. It's that baby rhino charm that got to you, right?
You can't see it, but I have a whole thing of rhinos in the back. In fact, I have a painting over here of a rhino, a painting over here of a rhino, because I always felt like a connection to rhinos, because I'm the kind of person, like, I'm the nicest person as long as you don't mess with me, and that's how rhinos are. Rhinos are like real passive. They're like, just leave us alone and we're good to go. But if you mess with me, you're going to get a horn. So
That is absolutely 100% correct.
yeah, so like I can relate to that. So I'm like, yeah, that's my spirit animal.
Great, that's wonderful. And remember, save up a little. I told you that the public's not allowed at the Rhino Orphanage, but you will always be welcome, and you have to come and visit us.
Please, please.
Arrie, in Yolande, I promise you this. I will be making plans to come visit you when this COVID-19 thing is over. That is number one place on my list, because I was going to go to Switzerland when all this was over. No, I've been to Switzerland. I now want to come see you guys and visit you, seriously. So I appreciate the invitation. All right, you guys stay put right there. Don't go anywhere. But I want to say goodbye to the listeners and to the viewers. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Please, please look into your heart and reach into your pocket and send whatever you can to the Rhino Orphanage. I will have all the links below so that you can contact them. They have their website, the Rhino Orphanage, and in their Instagram. I will have all that below so that you can connect with them. So, because I've seen some amazing videos on Instagram of these little baby rhinos running around. It's the coolest thing. And so I will connect. I will put all that in the links below so that you guys can help out. And please reach out to your elected officials in your area, and let's get our government behind them to help them out to save these magnificent animals. So as usual, until next time, take care, be safe, and wear your mask.